Hey, howdy, how's it? And welcome to another Fun Fact Friday. So today we're going to do, episode 3, by the way. So today I'm doing a fun fact that my students already know. I got some ideas as well for the next fun fact to use because of a story that a student told me about today. But I will do that next week. So for this week, we are going to look at Robert Sobukwe. Okay, so the thing that we're going to discuss today is something called the Sobukwe Clause. Imagine that the government puts a law in place just for you because you're so special. Robert Sobukwe did not have to imagine that because he literally had a law that was made just to keep him in prison. That's how influential it was. It's madness. Okay, so Robert Mangasilo Sobukwe, he was the leader of the Pan-Africanist Congress, which was a split off of the ANC. They basically had the belief of Africa for the Africans and for Black people to take the struggle into their own hands and stop looking for help from white liberals and other races. So, one of the things that led to him being arrested in the first place was that he was the organizer of the Sharpeville protest against the pass laws, and he was arrested on charges of inciting to violence. So, basically, what happened is that he organized the protest. He was actually one of the first people arrested, so he wasn't even there to see the massacre that happened, but he was charged for causing what ended up being the Sharpeville massacre. And he went to trial, was sentenced to 3 years in prison for incitement. So this clause was part of something called the General Law Amendment Act, which was also just to detain all anti-apartheid activists to kind of stop them from organizing protests and things like that. So the General Law Amendment Act basically meant that the apartheid police could just pick you up and they could keep you for 90 days without charging you, and then they could release you, and then they could rearrest you and keep you for another 90 days. So the law itself was very, very unfair, and the whole idea behind it was to stop people from protesting. But for Sobukwe, they decided something a bit more extreme is needed. So we've charged him now. He's in jail for 3 years. But I'm worried. When he comes out, he's going to start rallying up the PAC again. So now we're going to pass the Sobukwe Clause, which was specifically written into the General Law Amendment Act. And Robert Sobukwe was the only person that it was ever used for. And basically, what it did is that it allowed the apartheid government to keep him in prison for an additional 6 years beyond the 3 years that he got which basically means that he was kept in prison for 9 years when he was only supposed to be in prison for 3 years. And to make matters even worse, he was kept in solitary confinement. Like he wasn't allowed to interact with any of the other prisoners at Robben Island, like, for example, Nelson Mandela. If you ever go to the Robben Island Museum, they can show you the Sobukwe house, and it is quite interesting how they had like a whole thing of dogs around it, and the gates were there, and it was like, geez, is this guy Thanos or something? He was also not allowed to listen to, or when he got letters, the letters were often redacted. He was not allowed to listen to the radio. The radio, only certain stations were given to him, and all of those things. Like they were so scared. Imagine the government weaponizing the law just to keep you silent. Isn't that amazing, eh? So he was such a big threat to the apartheid government that they literally had to make up a law to keep him quiet, so to say. When Sobukwe was released, I think he was released in 1978. Oh, no, did he die in 1978? Yeah, he died in 1978. But when he was released after being kept in solitary confinement, they forced him basically to live under house arrest. So he wasn't allowed to go to any gatherings or organize any things like that. And his life was very, very restricted. It's like an open air prison, basically, after he got out of prison. So that's your Fun Fact Friday for today. Nice, short, and sweet, and interesting. I'll see you next week with another fun fact.